Welcome to the King County Executive Candidate Forum hosted by King County Young Democrats in partnership and streamed by Northwest Progressive Institute. My name is Rohana Joshi, Chair of King County Young Democrats and one of your moderators for tonight. I'm joined here with my co-moderator and YDWA President, Austin Christofferson.
Hi everyone, my name is Austin. I'm the president of the Young Democrats of Washington. We're the official youth arm of the Democratic Party for the state. We currently have 12 active chapters throughout the state, and we have the primary goal of engaging and mobilizing young people in our democratic process. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. It's truly amazing to see everyone come together today for such a noble cause and such an important purpose. This all really started off as a silly little idea in my head saying, wow, we have some great candidates here in King County all running for King County Executive and a really hard decision to make. And, I was thinking, how can KCYD make this decision a little bit easier for our residents here in King County? And just like that, this forum came to be. All of these teams are amazing to work with. And none of this work, of course, could have been done without the work of my board. So shout out to my vice chair, Waylon, my treasurer, Murphy Bush, Nadia Goforth, our secretary and our timekeeper for tonight, Sienna, she could not be here, but she's our legislative director, Bethany and Jordan, our comms team, Thomas and Rye, our King County Democratic Central Committee representatives, and of course, Vivek Prakriya, who is our YDUW representative. And of course, special thanks to Beth Baisley and Andrew Villeneuve for being huge support systems in all of this, for coming together. They're up there doing some great administrative things. And I would now like to introduce our guest speaker and candidate for State Senate, State Representative Victoria Hunt.
Thank you, Rohana, and thank you all for being here. My name is Victoria Hunt. I serve as state representative in the Washington State House of Representatives, serving the 5th legislative district. That's the southeast quadrant of King County. And actually, before I did that, and one of the reasons why I initially ran for office was I was working here at University of Washington as affiliate faculty in the Urban Design and Planning Department. And I was working on urban ecology and how to make sure that as we grow and as we add much needed housing, that we are really also protecting our beautiful natural areas and the nature around us that provides so many benefits and also makes this the most beautiful place in the world to live. I wanted to just speak to you all for a few moments about the importance of local races and why I'm so grateful that you all are here to learn more about these candidates. Local races are really the last line of defense against a number of things that we're seeing at the federal level right now. For example, this area experienced a lot of damage from a bomb cyclone that whipped through last November, took out power for many days, and really did a lot of damage. And we've seen now that the state has been able to help provide funds to recover from that. FEMA has not, has denied in those local races. I wanted to share with you some statistics. I like statistics and numbers, and the Washington Community Alliance has put together a great amount of information about who's voting in the local elections. And overall in Washington state, it is true that baby boomers, so 60 to 78 years old, they represent the largest percent of the electorate. However, and I think this is really important, Gen Z and millennials together make up as much as 43% of the electorate, and they're 70% of new voters in the state. So give yourselves a round of applause for signing up to vote and participating. Your voice really matters, especially in these odd years. As was mentioned, I am running for state senate due to the passing away of our state senator, very shocking and very tragically just a few weeks back. And been looking into the numbers. These are lower awareness elections in the odd years. And so it's great that you are all here. Please make sure that you're letting people know about what you've heard from the candidates and what you are thinking about this race, and letting people know that these are important races that are on the ballot in this odd year election. I know I'm really excited to hear from all of our candidates for King County Executive, and so I thank you all again so much for participating, and I will hand it back over to Rohanna and Austin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now Austin will give a little bit of a description of what the King County Executive is / what they do for anyone who may not know.
Yes, so first established in 1968, the King County Executive serves as one of the most important roles in our local government. As head of King County, they're responsible for implementing policies, overseeing the departments, and representing the county to our state and federal partners. Whoever is elected in November will become the King County's 10th executive and will oversee a number of challenges in the next few years, including standing up to the Trump administration, working with the King County Council to address the King County's budget issues, and coordinating with local cities to manage the countywide home. These are just a few. We're obviously going to dive in a little bit more. We are super excited to have 6 of the wonderful candidates here, and we want to thank you all for being here. And I'll give it over to Rohanna to talk about the rules.
So, of course, every forum does come with a set of rules, so I'll just read off the rules for everybody to know, and just to refresh our candidates, they were given our rules prior to this forum. So, essentially, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer each pre-prepared question that Austin and I will be asking. Candidates are to respect one another. Disagreements are tolerated, but slander and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Microphones will be cut in the case of slander or personal attacks. Audience questions will be screened prior to being asked by the King County Democrats chair and 2 members of the King County Democrats board. So those are the people that you saw picking up questions, and they've already been screened and brought back to us, which is really great. During the audience questions, candidates will have 1 minute to respond to each question, and microphones will be cut once your time has ended in any scenario. A 30-second and 10-second warning will be given with the show of a timekeeper's note card, and we will have a rotating order of speakers with the second speaker going first in the following round. For example, A, B, C, D, B, C, D, A, C, D, A, B, etc. going forward. A lot of letters. So those are the main rules. Candidates, do you all understand what we'll be doing tonight?
Yes, we do.
Amazing. Thank you.
Here you go. Yeah. Awesome. We will now, all right, each candidate will now have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Time will be kept throughout today with the help of our King County Young Democrat Secretary, Nadia Goforth, over at the table over there. Does anyone have any questions before we begin? Hearing none, we will start with Councilmember Balducci.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Thank you, Austin. This is an amazing forum, and it's the first with all a variety of the candidates, so it's a really great opportunity for us to be out on the campaign trail and get to know each other as well. My name is Claudia Balducci. I am a lifelong public servant. I have served in King County government for over 25 years now. I started at the line level working in labor relations and eventually ran one of our larger departments. I have been an elected city council member from the city of Bellevue, including serving 2 terms as 2 years as mayor, and now I'm on the King County Council. And I do what I do, and I'm running for this office because I fundamentally believe and have dedicated my life to the proposition that local government can make life better. And when we think about making life better, I got involved in politics because my community in East Bellevue was once upon a time a starter home community where a young family could move and raise children and afford to live. No longer. It's very expensive, in fact, almost exclusive. And so I have been fighting so that people can have the door open to them to live the kind of life that my generation has gotten to live, so that our 19-year-old who's graduating high school in just a few weeks could afford to live. So I work on affordable housing. We have created thousands of affordable homes right next to light rail. I've worked on homelessness. In Bellevue, when I was mayor, there was no permanent supportive housing or shelter at all. And now there is, because of the work that we have done. We were able to site those kinds of housing infrastructure and services. I'm probably most known for fighting the battle of East Side Light Rail. And it's open now. You can ride it. We opened, thank you. We opened 2 more stations just about 10 days ago, and we put the first light rail car on a floating bridge in the world this week, and it's going to open anytime soon. So I look forward to the discussion, but I want to prioritize these kinds of things so that our next generation can afford to live and enjoy what we have enjoyed in King County. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Singer.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing great today. My name is Amaya Ingram. I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama, and I moved here, like many people, to start off on my career, and I joined Microsoft. And recently I've just been a part of the layoffs, but unfortunately, that's not my story. I've actually done a lot of great things while I was there. I started my own business called Shape Share Wear, which fought against societal social media issues. And I even gave back $12,000 to the homeless community last year. I'm running because I walk the streets of this community every day, and I see people on the side of the street begging for just help or any ounce of just empathy that we could provide. I see our leaders talk about all of the amazing things that they've done in this community, and I wonder how year over year we still see mass increases of homeless issue, increase in drug use, as well as crime in our communities. And I wonder, what is the solution for that? How can we change that? And what will the outcome be if we have a new leader? And that's how I was pushed to step up and run for this position as King County Executive. Not as a council member, but as someone who's been in the community and feels the hurt, the cry, the heartache, the pain that we face every day when waking up and seeing things at a national level that affect us, but also things that we could change just right here. So today, I hope to share some of my insight with you and win your vote. King County counts, count us in. Can we count on you? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don L. Rivers, candidate for county executive. I've worked at King County Metro for 40 years, from an inspector to an administration office. I know the county like the back of my hand. I also have run for many positions. I've watched Washington State, King County become vibrant, become full of diversity. I was the first one that told elected officials that we are taking a salad bowl and it's becoming a melting pot. And the problem with that is everyone wants the same thing, but not necessarily at the same time or the same way. We also my campaign and I stopped the CHOP riots. This person right here went in there and stopped it. I'm a problem solver. From the age of 15, I kicked the mafia. I asked them to leave my community in Detroit. So I understand the danger. I understand the tabaxi of how we need to come together. But I also understand the way that we use money is wrong. The way we use your tax dollars is wrong. And we need to change it. And we must start at the county because the county is the #1 county in the state of Washington. And we have to start and get it right here first. So therefore, I'm running for county executive. Wasn't gonna do it, but we're too diverse and too misunderstood to just let this happen. The young people are good organizers, but they don't have anything of understanding about negotiations. And when you can't negotiate, you only get what you can negotiate. I'm running for county executive. We have a lot to change. I'm thankful to the county. I'm thankful to the county members.
Thank you.
The executive too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for organizing this. My name is Rebecca Williamson. I want to get right to it. I'm the Socialist Workers Party candidate. And the answers to the questions that we face today all end up ultimately coming back to which class must rule. Our class, the working class, is ruled over by a tiny class of billionaires through the Republican and Democratic parties. We need to break from both of these parties and build an independent movement to defend ourselves. And my campaign gives a voice to this struggle. I'm convinced you cannot make changes through the system. Who runs the courts? Who runs the cops? Every institution. The only changes that have really improved the lives of millions of working people and our allies have been through our own independent and collective struggles on the job and in the streets, winning concessions from the bosses and the ruling class. You think of the civil rights movement, women's struggles, hard-fought strikes. Every political question comes back to which class will rule. The Cubans proved that socialist revolution is possible and necessary for more than 60 years now, and including the early years of the Russian Revolution too. And when the US working class takes power, it's going to change the world. The only important question in front of us is how will working people take the power? We can't tax our way out. I stand with all the struggles that build the confidence and fighting capacity of our class. All the wealth in society is derived from our labor. The murder of the young Jewish couple day before yesterday that worked at the Israeli embassy is a symptom of blaming Israel for the war. And this is a life and death question for the working class. What Hamas and their sponsors in Iran announced October 7th was an attempt at another Holocaust aimed at killing as many Jews as possible. I defend Israel's right to exist. Okay, thank you.
It's been a while since I've had one of these. I'm John Wilson. It says John Arthur, but that was because I needed 3 names when I was at the Seattle Times as a reporter. But the fact is, I've got a varied career in King County and a long dedication to trying to improve our community. I was Chief of Staff to Executive Sims. I worked back in Congress for a member of Congress, Al Swift, who passed the most progressive energy legislation this nation has seen in 40+ years. But we have a crisis on our hands on a number of fronts that we have to deal with. And it doesn't come from the left or the right. It comes from all of us pulling together. If you talk to people around King County, they'll tell you the foremost thing they're concerned about is safety. And I can sense that. I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. My 2 girls still live here in the Seattle area. They work in the food sector. One of them works often by night. She's scared sometimes to get on the bus or the train because she's not sure she's going to be safe to get home. Both of them have suffered from the ravages of domestic violence. And I've seen what it does, because both of them we adopted as infants from Korea. And when you start to see the world through a different set of eyes, you start to understand how institutional racism and discrimination has become pervasive. But part of how we change that is putting economic power in those people who have been historically discriminated against. That's why one of the things I've worked so hard on is with groups in the African American community to promote black home ownership. One of my old bosses, my old boss when he was county executive, was Ron Sims, who tells a compelling story about what getting a house in Spokane, even in the days of redlining, meant to him and his family. And it meant him and his twin brother could actually go to college. Now, one of the things I'm frankly proudest of as King County Assessor, and more often, frankly, I'm referred to as, oh, you're that guy. Yeah, I'm that guy. But here's what that guy has done for thousands of older residents that someday hopefully you all will be. We went to Olympia twice and fought for property tax reform.
Thank you so much. That is
and we won it.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Good to see you. This is so wonderful. Thank you to King County Young Democrats for organizing this. My name is Girmay Zahalai. I'm the chair of the King County Council. I'm a father of a new baby girl. She just turned 1. Thank you. I am a son of South Seattle and Skyway, and I'm a candidate for King County Executive. And I'm running for executive because I believe that with thoughtful leadership and good policies, this region can be a place of safety and opportunity for every single person. And I believe this because I've lived it. When my family and I came to the U.S. as refugees when I was 3 years old, this community gave us all the tools we needed to rebuild our lives. Affordable public housing, good public schools, a social safety net that helped me go from South Seattle low-income housing projects, even experiencing homelessness, to now, starting my own youth development nonprofit, working at the Obama White House, going to law school, and becoming the chair of the King County Council. But I'm running for executive because all of those opportunities that helped me are out of reach for way too many people, and in fact, I think those opportunities are declining. As King County Executive, I would work aggressively to expand opportunity, build more affordable housing, improve public safety, support good-paying union jobs, protect our environment, and shield this region from these devastating impacts of a hostile federal government. And all of that needs to be done through a lens of equity, making sure that we first expand the scope of who gets to participate in our political discourse, people like young people, people of color, low-income people. We also need to invest in each of those communities, give them the tools to be able to solve those problems. Bringing that approach as a King County Council member, I've led to big regional wins like increasing the minimum wage, strengthening tenant protections, building crisis care centers, and making sure that every person in this region can have an opportunity and safety so that they can live the life that they were meant to live. That's what we're all fighting for. I hope to earn your support. Thank you.
Ms. Ingram, it goes to Ms. Ingram.
Go back.
Awesome. We will now be there we go. We'll now be asking pre-prepared questions of our candidates. These questions have been meticulously created by some of the young Democrats here. Each candidate, again, will have 90 seconds this time. And we'll be starting with Ms. Ingram. The time will start after the question is asked, and if anybody needs the question again, feel free to ask. The question is, given the rapid increase in housing costs in King County, significantly outpacing wage growth, especially for young professionals and entry-level workers, what concrete, innovative, and equitable policy and development strategies that King County can implement to ensure that young people have realistic pathways to both affordable rental housing and home ownership within the county, rather than being forced to leave the region or live far from work? Ms. Ingram.
Thank you so much for that question. Is the mic on or am I tripping? Is it on?
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you so much for that question. That's something that I've pondered about a lot, especially because I'm a person that just happened to lose my job last week. So the housing crisis is definitely top of mind for me. When I think about the issues that we see, like I said a few minutes ago, so many people unhoused, right? That means that we have more people unhoused than the amount of infrastructure that we're building for housing. So my focus would be to increase the amount of people that we have working on housing development, put more funding towards that. We need more apartments and we need more multi-family homes, not single-family homes, which we see accounting for 70% of the homes in Seattle. So we definitely want to change it from, a focus of who can afford it to everyone should have access. And we create access by building more and providing more options to those who don't make, the wage. Of course, we can continue to increase wages and we can argue about the cap on property tax, but at the end of the day, everyone deserves to have a place to lay their head and everyone deserves to have an affordable home. So it should be a non-negotiable that we should invest more in, number one, making sure that we have policies that allow for more multi-family homes to be built in the Seattle region, taking that 70% down to 50%. And then number two, making sure that we have the availability and the focus on housing. I know a lot of the focus is on transport.
That is time. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, was it you? I think I might have. I'm so sorry.
Hello?
Would you mind coming over here so all the candidates can see?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
So the mic
I had that
just
problem
died.
too. Appreciate you.
I think there might be batteries in here, right?
All right, so our batteries just died. One moment, thank you.
It was like 75%.
It was at 75% before this forum started.
Wow.
Hello? Hello? There we go. And then, now it's a mess. And then now, yeah, it's you.
Okay, am I supposed to remember the question?
Yeah,
You
we
asked
can
me
ask
again?
it.
Thank you.
You want me to- Okay. Awesome. So the question is, given the rapid increase in housing costs in King County, significantly outpacing wage growth, especially for young professionals and entry-level workers, what concrete, innovative, and equitable policy and development strategies can King County implement to ensure that young people have a realistic pathway to both affordable rental housing and home ownership within?
Don't like my left hand. I can go now?
Yep.
Okay. Homelessness is the most. Should I go here? Okay. Homelessness is the most viable area of untapped positive resources. What that means is nobody asked to be out there. Nobody wants to be out there. I was offered $950 million running for governor to eradicate homelessness in Washington State. 100% guarantee. And you know what I said? I'll take it as an offer, because the press wouldn't talk about it. They wanted to talk about chicken nugget money, if you know what I'm saying. So what I want you to understand is we can get rid of this problem. If you do the same thing with homelessness that we did with crime. But the most interesting thing is, with the program that I was putting forth and going to put forth, 16,000 housing units, 5,000 single-family dwellings, and 5,000 college starter homes for students from junior to senior, so they don't come out with debt. They can balance it off. That's the $950 million that was offered to me running for governor. And I came in second in 2020 behind Inslee. So what I'm saying to you, it's about to change drastically. We can help our young people.
Thank you. John Parks from the Stellington.
Thank you. All right, I hope you don't mind if I stay seated.
Yes, I'm in trend.
Okay. That was okay for the introductory remarks. This is one of the most glaring problems that we face in society. This is all around the country. What someone mentioned, young people not being able to move out. People having to commute further and further for work because they can't afford, the jobs are here, and, the price of gas going up, and we need higher wages, and we need a federally funded public works program. Think of how many people would throw themselves into this work if they knew that these were high quality, union wage type of jobs. This is a pressing need. But this is not going to happen under capitalism, because you have opposing interests, class interests. This is big business, big business. But housing should be all right. Nobody should be living on the street. And, this is something that you could involve the unions, to fight for these things. This gets back to organizing and mobilizing working people to fight for what we need. Okay, maybe I talked kind of fast, but yeah, this is something that it's not going to be solved by zoning issues, and committees and throwing more money. It's a class question. There's opposing interests here. So thank you.
We'll try not to drop anything. Actually, it will be in part solved by money, and that's what we desperately need, is to invest a lot more in housing. A couple years ago, as part of a county effort led by Dow and then Mayor Durkin and Suburban Mayor Nancy Bacchus, they put together one table. We identified more than 24 vacant surplus government-owned properties that could be used for housing. To date, you want to know how many have been built on? Not a damn one. Not a damn one. And they should have been. We identified sites that were ripe for development, basically shovel-ready. As assessor, I happen to know where there are literally hundreds of parcels of property across this county that are ripe for building. But we don't show the will to get going. One of the things we need to do is streamline our permitting process. We need to reduce the cost while not reducing the safety of housing. We need to figure out how we come up with more creative and innovative funding mechanisms. For example, one of the things we do right now is, of the $7.7 billion we'll take in this year in property taxes, about 2/3 of that comes from the residential sector. And about half of that comes through mortgage payments, where you have financial service companies collect 2 to 3%. Why not lower that to what the actual cost is, which is about $10 a transaction, and take that money and have them put it in a publicly supervised community reinvestment fund to help people get first-time homes, to buy down interest rates, to buy off debt, to allow them to get into housing. Those are the kind of things that will make a difference.
Thank you so much.
I counted how many times my family had been displaced in South Seattle and in the Central District. We had been moving around 13 times. I've counted 13 homes that we lived in throughout my childhood because we couldn't afford to stay where we were. And at one point, we even experienced homelessness, like I mentioned before. This is absolutely a personal issue, and we need to do three things. We need to increase housing supply, we need to decrease displacement, and we need to have stronger regional coordination. In order to increase supply, that means putting more roofs over more people's heads. That means investing more public dollars into this. We do that through grants. We do it through levies. We also need to do it with debt financing. I proposed the Regional Workforce Housing Initiative last year to tap into King County's debt capacity to construct more workforce homes. We also need to eliminate red tape, like John was saying. We need to streamline our permitting processes. We need to change our zoning. A couple years ago, I proposed and passed the missing middle housing legislation for King County. We need to be able to build more types of housing in more places and eliminate racist restrictive covenants that allowed so many people to be excluded. We need to increase emergency housing to help our unhoused population. When it comes to decreasing displacement, I talked about putting more roofs over people's heads. Then we need to actually keep people in their homes. That means stronger tenant protections. I was proud to sponsor and pass the tenant protections law in 2020. We need to improve home ownership opportunities by investing in things like community land trusts. We need to have strong anti-displacement policies in low-income communities like Skyway.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivers, you're up next.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, it is. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Thank you.
It was the letters.
I think the name of the game is distinction on a stand. So housing costs are, I think, the number one barrier that we have to an equitable county. It is a top priority for the next county executive. There are three ways we need to approach our housing cost problem, and they're simple: supply, subsidy, stability. Supply. We at local government and a lot of our city friends have encouraged the growth of jobs for a very long time while restricting the growth of housing because we respond to loud local voices that say, not in my backyard. And so I have been working with all of the cities, housing providers, advocates, large employers, and unions to come up with ways to expand supply through our zoning and comprehensive planning. This will lead to, we're in the middle of the work we're doing, over 200,000 capacity for new homes. Subsidy. No matter how much you allow building, because of the cost of the land, we will never be able to have everybody at every job be able to afford a home. So we need to put government supports into affordable housing. And that means local funding, which we need more of, and federal funding, which is at risk. We have to fight the Trump administration rollbacks on that. And then stability. When you have a house, you need to help people stay in that home because that is the cheapest and most humane way to keep people housed, and that's tenant protections and other supports. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This next question, the first person answering it will be Mr. Rivers. And the next question is, as King County Executive, you would play a key role in guiding Sound Transit's expansion of light rail to the Tri-County region. How would you balance the concerns of your constituents, deliver equitable access to sustainable mass transit to King County, but also recognize the concerns of Snohomish and Pierce County residents who've paid into the RTA without seeing significant benefit from those investments?
Wow.
You got 90 seconds, Don.
I just said wow. I've worked for the county for 40 years. I watched the first light transit shuttle come off the train and into our shop. I've watched all this grow. I think we have a good person in charge right now that's going to help because he knows the county real good. The other thing that I want to say is we're trying to balance how we use energy resources. And we have to be careful and do the checks and balances at every interval. Because if we don't, we're going to mess up. We're using a lot of money on this light rail system. A lot of people are paying dollars and they won't ever see them back. And I said one thing running for governor and people didn't like it. When it goes over to Eastern Washington, the taxes need to be lowered over here because we started it. And people did not like that. So I'm not messing with the Sound Transit money, but we do have to find out how we want to make this all work together. Which way we going? Okay. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the public transportation question is an important question. And, you know, we need rapid, quality, timely mass transportation that isn't just centered towards downtown, but goes all over. And again, that comes back to fighting for a federally funded public works program. You know, the taxes, I would say I'm opposed to working people paying any taxes. This is something that should be paid for federally and, you know, is needed by working people. And again, the union's playing a role in this, fighting for what working people need. Yeah. Yeah, and this touches on the question of just quality goods and services that we need of all kinds, you know, in production and, again, what working people need. So thank you.
Here we go again. Sound Transit. It's a mess. And it's so important to this region. I want to be very clear. I'm a supporter of mass transit and also housing around mass transit. In fact, I lived in the Roosevelt neighborhood until about 6-8 months ago, and I helped put together an assemblage of properties to build 250 units of housing within 150 feet of the light rail station. We ought to be doing a lot more of that deals with both your housing and your transportation issues. But the fact also is Sound Transit costs are wildly out of control. We can't afford that kind of budget management and that in the future. You look at the cost of going from SoDo to West Seattle, it has gone from $3 billion to now more than $7 billion. Also, we're pursuing a technology to what Rebecca suggested that doesn't get everywhere that it needs to get these days. You all know our commuting patterns have fundamentally changed, and they're not going to change back to the old hub and spoke method anytime soon. So what we've got to look at is a more decentralized and dispersed transportation model that gets people to where they want to go, when they want to go. That may mean that we have to look at autonomous vehicles and other things. We also have to make sure that we protect our working class people, both who depend on the transit, but also the workers who provide our service. Sean Min, who was killed just near this campus in December, should have never been killed. He was killed by somebody who frankly got off the bus, killed him, and got back on another bus.
I absolutely agree that light rail and Sound Transit should be a top priority for the next executive. It will be for me. Expanding light rail promotes mobility, it promotes economic opportunity, it promotes a good, healthy environment. We all know that cars are the largest emitters of carbon in our region, so the more we can expand accessible, safe mass transit, the more people will get out of cars and save our environment. I think that means having a strong spine to the system, a strong core, because the rest of the system doesn't work if we don't have that. You know, one example is if you go to Rainier Valley that I represent, 70% of the collisions of the entire system happen in that Rainier Valley 4-station corridor. That is unacceptable. And guess what? A flawed middle promotes delays and dysfunction all throughout the system. And so when it comes to working with the other counties, I would work with them closely to understand their needs, but also show them how having a strong center absolutely helps promote an efficient, grander system. I think we also need much stronger oversight because these project delays and cost overruns are unacceptable. Absolutely, inflation is a national problem that's impacting capital projects everywhere, but we need to get ahead of that. In the next 2 decades, I just got a briefing that Sound Transit is going to face a fiscal overrun, and we need to be preparing for that, understanding what scope of our projects we should include, what schedule we will be building on, and working closely to make sure we deliver our projects on time.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
All right. The question is, as King County Executive, you would play a key role in guiding Sound Transit's expansion of light rail to the Tri-County region. How would you balance the concerns of your constituents, deliver equitable access to sustainable mass transit to King County, but also recognize the concerns of Snohomish and Pierce County residents who've paid into the RTA without seeing significant benefit from those investments?
I think it's off. It's on? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I understand the question to be about how are we going to complete the job. We famously, in the 1960s, missed out on the federal government funding 90% of our light rail system and building it in forward thrust, and now that system is in Atlanta. So we're building it ourselves. We're building it on our own dime largely with some help from the federal government, but we need to be smart, we need to be fiscally responsible, and we need to work regionally, as you said, in order to get this spine built out. My colleague, Councilmember Zahalai, and I serve on the Sound Transit Board. We provide the oversight. We provide the impetus to get this done. I have been committed to expanding light rail, overcame massive opposition in East King County, billionaires who invested millions of their own dollars and time in ballot measures and overturning directives at the city council and lawsuits to try to stop light rail. And we powered through that and got it open today. When we had a problem on the I-90 bridge, getting that finished, I was the person who convinced the agency to open the east side first. We were innovative. We now have 10 stations open because we pushed and got smart about it. We're about ready to start testing on the bridge, and we're going to get across. We also need to figure out how we finance, and there's a path. We've been working on it hard. I've been the leading voice for reform and oversight on the board, bringing in experts and working towards getting that spine built, and then the buses all around it that make the whole system work. We'll get there. We will.
So the Sound Transit issue is a unique one to me. I believe that the investment in public transportation is amazing. I believe that what we're doing in that is great, but I also question, like if we trusted in our leaders to create this budget, they told us when it was going to be done, they get this timeline, we have people who aren't benefiting from it, then what is the plan for that, right? Alongside with our failed deadlines, we also see the housing crisis increasing 23% over 3 years, right? And so when we're talking about things like a budget deficit and we're talking about staying in line with our goals, it just kind of makes me question, like, is the light rail really the right thing to focus on right now? We have the King County executive who's moved himself to CEO of Sound Transit. We have people who are board members, council members that are serving on the board of Sound Transit, right? These are the same people making these pressing decisions, and these are the people that are supposed to be holding them accountable for these deadlines. So one thing I would want to do is bring in some additional citizens who have no political background, add them to the board, and have the voices of the people actually represented on the board, as well as focus on housing first to decrease the crime in our Sound Transit and in our public transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. It goes to Ms. Williamson. Awesome. Due to climate change, King County has experienced increased heat events, heavy rain, and landslide hazards in the last 10 years. How would you, as King County Executive, build resilience and adapt to these specific climate impacts, particularly in vulnerable frontline communities?
Okay, thank you. Well, there's a need for a workers and farmers alliance. The people that live in the countryside, working people, farm workers, small farmers, are the best ones to figure out these problems. And, turning to organizing the working class and building a working class leadership, because capitalism, it spoils nature without care, and it exploits labor at the same time. And this is what we've seen for decade after decade, country after country. It devastates our planet. And so fighting for a workers' government, fighting for a socialist revolution in this country is the only way to save humanity and the planet. It's turning to the workers that are involved in these industries. And that's what we are incapable of under this regime, be it Democrat or Republican. So thank you very much.
Clearly, climate change is a major issue that we are facing and will have to face more and more. Somebody mentioned the bomb cyclone. We had teams out providing homeowners tax relief reassessments from houses that were literally destroyed. And they were destroyed by the will of nature and that. What can we do? Well, a number of things we can do. We need to figure out how we decarbonize our society. And that means both decarbonizing transportation, housing, and other things. Right now, we're so focused on electricity, we're not considering other options such as hydrogen and frankly, even some of the major global auto manufacturers such as BMW and Toyota are starting to move away from EVs and moving to hydrogen-powered vehicles. We need to diversify that. We need to look in particular for the multifamily and for low-income multifamily housing, how we make that more energy efficient to cut their bills down, allow them to have the amenities that they need, but not be paying through the nose for electricity or natural gas. That can be done by more efficient modeling and by installing high-efficiency tools, induction cooking, things like that. But what we also need is a community-wide effort to roll up our sleeves and look at how can each of us do something to improve our climate footprint. And part of that is going to be trying to live and work closer to where we actually have a roof over our head.
Thank you.
Since Claudia's standing up, I'm going to stand up now too. I grew up in places like Rainier Vista and New Holly, communities that are surrounded by highways and airports where kids are breathing in toxins and have disproportional rates of asthma. These are the communities that we have to co-design our climate policies with. That's why I've worked with airport communities to come up with the Airport Emissions Task Force, which baked airport emissions strategy and reducing those emissions into our strategic climate action plan. And we need to continually partner with these communities in everything that we do. Number one, we need to reduce our carbon emissions. That means getting people out of cars and into public transit whenever and wherever possible. That means electrifying our fleet. That means changing our building codes so that we have clean energy that we're using. It also means preparing for climate change. It means resiliency. I was proud to put forward a couple of years ago our extreme weather mitigation plan, which resulted in the executive coming up with all kinds of strategies to get people into shelters, cooling, heating locations to escape from extreme heat, extreme cold, and wildfire smoke events. We also need to work with our flood control district to make sure that we're investing in flood infrastructure, because extreme weather means more flooding events and more communities, especially out in our rural areas, are going to be subject to the type of damage that is caused by climate change. We need to reduce carbon. We need to prepare for the effects of climate change and adapt, and we need to co-design these solutions with our frontline communities.
Thank you.
I mean, as we talk about, this is all about the future and about having a future for King County where people can survive and have a good life. And so we talk about housing and transportation. Obviously, climate action is critical to that. If we're going to have a climate where people can survive, if we're not going to have heat domes that are killer heat in the middle of the summer, if we're not going to have smoke season that impact all of us and especially frontline communities, I have joined with my colleagues on the county council in adopting a really forward-thinking carbon mitigation plan. I have been a leader of the Puget Sound Regional Council, where we worked on a plan for transportation to reduce climate emissions from one of our major sectors that emits greenhouse gas emissions. The challenge with all of these plans is that we're not looking at accountability. If you look at what we actually do versus the goals we have set, our plans are failing. Our carbon emissions keep increasing when they should be either steadying or decreasing. So the first thing we need is a little bit of accountability. If we have plans, let's look at the things we're doing and make sure they're having the results that we want them to have. And when they don't, we have to change. And specifically around some of the areas where there are heat islands and places that are disproportionately impacted by climate change, we need to invest in green space, tree canopy, parks, things that are lots of in my district, not so much in other parts of King County. And as county executive, I would work to fix that. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Due to climate change, King County has experienced increased heat events, heavy rain, and landslide hazards in the last 10 years. How would you as King County executive build resilience and adapt to these specific climate impacts, particularly in vulnerable frontline communities?
Yes, I love that question. So I don't know if any of you guys follow me on Instagram, but you should. I post on there every day. But one of the things I talked about was like doomsday preparation. And I think this kind of ties in with like environmental change. So the first thing I would want to do is make the citizens that are in that area prepared, put more workforce out there so that if anything happens, we're ready to move, boots are on the ground, and we're taking care of it. The second thing is we have the brightest minds here. We're literally building the world's first floating bridge, right? Why can't we build something that will help us during these times, maybe put a shield up in front of the house to kind of keep everything from sliding down, just to increase the amount of time you can get out of your house? There's so many innovative ways, right, that we can use technology and engineering to really build an infrastructure around our county and just make us, more ready for these things to happen. We can't control Mother Nature, but we can control how we show up.
If we keep repeating the same thing, we get the same results. Nothing. I'm saying that I grew up at 16, I bought my first house in Detroit, Michigan. I worked waterproofing basements. I know how water runs, and I know where it wants to go. But we allowed contractors to come in from Canada, and I know because one of them built my third house I had here at 24 that I had built from the ground up, and they built it, but they didn't want to be involved with the HMO. So they got out of town quick. We have a climate problem. The earth and the sky is changing. Everything that was is not anymore. Therefore, we have to get ahead of things. We wait till things happen, and then we want to fix it. We have to learn how to get in front of this. Water runs one way, to water. And it's not a hard thing to understand that. I said this when running for mayor. We got to build a new bridge to Seattle, West Seattle. But guess what I told them? If you don't pour hot concrete in the wintertime, you wouldn't have had the cracks. So you know what they did? They resurfaced it and saved a lot of money. We have to start putting people in office and keeping people where they belong when they're $150 million in debt already to fix these problems.
Thank you.
Assessor will have the next question.
All right, the next question. Sorry about that. All right, our next question, we'll be starting with Assessor Wilson, will be, how will you expand access to mental health care and create safe spaces for marginalized and queer communities?
Well, clearly, we are making some headway toward that with what the county has already done, and the two council members deserve credit for that. But clearly, we have an ongoing mental health problem that we've got to make greater investments in. We've got to hire more people that can provide direct services. We also, frankly, need more public defenders that can help those people navigate the system and get the kind of help that they need. And that's no matter what your orientation is. We have to make sure that the mental health services that we provide are, if you will, neutral or culturally has cultural humility to it of meshing with what that need of that particular community is, and not figuring that one size fits all. We all know mental health is a very sensitive issue. I've seen it happen up close and personal, and I know how much we can do if we have the right response at the right time.
I've been very concerned about the youth mental health crisis in particular. Some of you might have seen the data from the CDC a few years back, but the rates of depression, anxiety, disconnection that our high school and middle school students are experiencing is extremely alarming. And when I drive around the streets of our cities and I see people that I went to high school with now unhoused and going through severe behavioral health issues, I know that if we don't get to our young people now and provide them the support that they need, that is a pipeline to those types of issues that we see on the streets. And so because of that crisis, I was proud to work with our King County executive and our healthcare providers to put forward the Crisis Care Centers initiative so that we can build 5 crisis care centers around the region, one of them specifically focused on youth so that youth have crisis stabilizing support. We also worked with our MID funding, MIDD, to provide $5 million of mental health and suicide prevention support in our public high school system so that our students have that support right there. And you mentioned our queer communities. I worked specifically with organizations like Lavender Rights Project, which supports our trans community, and we worked with them through our Health Through Housing initiative to get a apartment that is full of behavioral health co-located with those services, specifically for our trans community. So there is a lot that we can do to support the stability and the mental health and substance use care for so many vulnerable communities. It takes collaborating with them, focusing on them, and making sure that they can recover.
Yeah, thank you. I think I said at the beginning, I'm a mom of a 19-year-old who's graduating from high school, and that kid and all of our kids spent fully a year and a half of part of their critical schooling years in their bedroom during COVID, and missed out on a lot of social growth, a lot of mental, emotional experience that generations before would have had. And I know that young people have all sort of come through this. So in addition to us having challenges with mental health, generally speaking, due to a lot of the pressures of our society and all what's going on in the world right now, we have the COVID blip that was going to play out into the future. And so this is an area where we need a lot more focus. I'm very proud of the work we've done on the mental health facilities and the Crisis Care Center levy. The first one of the 5 to open was in Kirkland in North King County, because a group of cities got together there with support from the county. I was one of the votes to support them in doing this, to create a space and open it up, and then King County came with our money and helped to support that. So we need to do more of that. We also need to invest in healthy and educational activities, not just mental health directly, but also late night basketball and social activities, and getting people out of their rooms and off of their game consoles. I'm sorry, I'm reliving my mom's stuff here, but we'll come back to things. I don't think I was emoting too much on that one.
Yes, so stress, anxiety, worry, all of those things I have experienced even just last week with the loss of my job. But, and especially when I started my business in 2022, it was really to combat like the norms of body image issues that were gained on social media, like spending a lot of time on Instagram and TikTok, seeing like an increase in plastic surgeries and things like that. And so, it just makes you feel inadequate and things like that. So starting my business really changed that for me. It was people from all walks of life coming to celebrate themselves as they are, not feeling like they have to change anything. And I think that's the most important thing, is building communities where authentic people can show up and be themselves fully, whether you're Black, white, LGBTQ, wherever you come from. And I think the best way for us to do that is pouring more funding into our nonprofits, pouring more funding into our small businesses who align with these communities, right? Because as a council, there's no way that we can reach everybody, but there's so many businesses, there's so many initiatives. Let's invest in them, give them a platform to really reach the people, because that is what the council is for, right? To reach the people. So let's invest in our people.
I'd like to give a shout out to Frank Chop, former. I think about it, he was a good friend. I promised Frank Chop that I would put a LGBTQIA plus building together for our youth. My daughter is a state trooper in Tennessee. She's LGBTQIA plus. She's a lieutenant. Christine Gregoire watched me change her first diaper in Christine's office, Attorney General's office. When we talk about our young people, I'm remembering the time that under Gary Lott as our county executive, I advised him, and we went in and took a chain society and made it a free society for our youth. We have more work we need to do with our youth for mental illness and mental tragedies and how they grow up. And we can stop this. We can help them, but we have to believe in them. So I want to take high schools and make them debate schools, so our young people can talk these problems out, so they can understand and take our county and challenge Snohomish County, Pierce County, and let our young people grow up understanding the good, the bad, the indifferent, as well as the good old boy system, as well as us that are baby boomers, because a lot of us were left out.
That is time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is a big question. And obviously, this is not going to be solved through King County or Washington or the U.S. even. I would say some of the biggest champions of mental health, the mental health workers, nurses who have been on strike. I've walked the picket lines with them. Swedish participated in the biggest strike in Oregon state history just a couple of months ago by healthcare workers there. And this is something that they bring up again and again. And we know that decades ago, this was something that the closing of a lot of mental health facilities because they're not profitable. And that's what healthcare, all kinds of healthcare is under capitalism. If it's not profitable, they're closing it. Doesn't matter if you have to travel twice as far and you end up dying of a heart attack or something. But these workers are the biggest champions of all kinds of healthcare, including mental health. Part of the problem is, the class relations that get skewed, like Sister over here described, what women face. The certain standards of beauty, that we're supposed to, and not just women these days, men too, you're supposed to buy, just so they can sell us a lot of junk. That's I would use the office to support these struggles, these workers on strike and such.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whose turn is it?
I think we're done. I think it's me.
That's what I thought.
There we
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, with the bright mic. Thank you. This is going to be the last pre-made question, and we'll be going to you all after this. So, awesome. What reforms do you support in the county's approach to public safety, especially people experiencing homelessness and the behavioral health crisis?
So 10 years ago, King County did a study called Familiar Faces. Oops. Oh, testing.
Yeah, you can start your answer all over. Thank you.
Am I good to go?
Yes.
Yes.
10 years ago, King County did a study called Familiar Faces, where they analyzed the people who are in jail 4 times or more in a 2-year period. There were 2,500 people who they studied who went to jail 4 times. And out of those 2,500 people, 94% of them were experiencing overlapping mental health and substance use disorders. 74% of that number were receiving no ongoing care, and in fact, incarceration was a disrupting factor to their care. So absolutely, we need to focus on this population. The people who we call repeat offenders are actually people who are not getting the care and support that they need. So for me, public safety will mean focusing on them. So far, King County has an initiative called Vital to respond to this study, to really focus on this group in partnership with Evergreen Treatment Services, at DCHS, and so many more. I would invest more into that program so that every single person who comes into our jail repeatedly has an individualized plan that is aggressive to make sure that they're not cycling in and out of jail and crime and mental health and addiction issues over and over again. Also, I want us to be much better about gun violence prevention. This is an issue that strikes really close to home for me. I represent many of the communities that are most impacted by this issue. We need to invest more in intervention, prevention, and restoration. That means keeping people from shooting guns in the first place, intervening in those locations where they're most likely to do it, and finally, helping people who are impacted by this issue so that we don't have
Thank
the
you.
retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
We're gonna switch the mics.
Yes. Wait, where's the question?
It was,
Oh, here it is. What reforms do you support in the county's approach to public safety, especially for people experiencing homelessness or behavioral health crises?
I'm a person who has, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm a person who has worked in the public safety system. I worked for the Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention for a number of years and actually ran a reform effort where we reformed the way we used use of force, provided health care and psychiatric services. So it's an area I'm very close to and I'm very passionate about. The number one thing I will tell you from that experience is we have asked our uniformed officers to do too much for too long. We send a uniform and a gun to virtually every social public problem, and that escalates problems. So the move towards co-response is very important, but we need to do more of it. King County just started this program, and by that means the right response to the right problem. If someone's having a mental health crisis, they need a mental health professional, not a police officer. If someone's having a social crisis, they need a social worker, not a police officer. And we're just starting to roll out these kinds of more modern approaches that are more effective. I think it's very important that we continue and increase that, and that would be a top priority for me as county executive. And there's so much more, but I am blanking, and so I'm going to hand it off and give you 10 seconds. I cede my time to my neighbor.
Yes, so the housing issue is something that's top of priority for me. As you guys already know, I said that every single time. So I've thought about this a lot. And I think it was John who mentioned that there are areas that can be built on that are currently not being built on. So my idea is to have massive tents, kind of like they have at weddings, have cots, have health service documentation around the clock, 24 hours. I was just at the Compass homeless shelter downtown Seattle Pioneer Square, and I was talking to the director, and they let me know that the main issue that they see is access, 24-hour access, and documentation, right? Like, we already know filing our taxes is like a headache. I mean, we have to do it, but you can't lie. Every year it's like, oh, I don't want to get involved with that, right? And so if you're unsheltered, of course, you're not going to want to probably get documentation. So it's about really being able to have that access available so that when it's time to get them off the street, we can. As far as public service and like safety, our bus drivers are, they're losing their lives. They're having to ride around. People are, nude, they're drunk, they're facing mental health crisis. So we actually want to provide a buddy system, kind of like a ride-along service that we see with police. We want to do that with our drivers as well, because it's not fair that they're having to put their lives out on the line, and we at least deserve, an ally with us while we're, out in the communities serving. Thank you.
We're talking about crime, right?
Public.
Good question.
Yes, I can repeat the question
Thank
for you. So I'll let you go.
What reforms do you support in the county's approach to public safety, especially for people experiencing homelessness or behavioral health crises?
King County Council does a great job. They're not finished. Y'all should go back. The other piece of that is this. The first thing that I did was racial profiling with Sheriff Riker and did a racial profiling summit years ago. Mayor Shell, if you remember him, used me to go into the drug parlors, deep into it, and talk to the drug dealers because I was from Michigan and I grew up around this stuff. We will never stop crime. Don't let people study and tell you that. We can lower it, but our country was built on organized crime. We make too much money on organized crime. How are you going to sit there and say we're going to stop it? We don't know how to stop it. I've never shot a gun in my life, and I lived in Detroit, and I had people next to me getting shot and killed. What I'm saying to you is the approach is restructuring, reorganizing our police departments. We don't have them doing the right thing. I've been working with them for 50 years. And you know what? When I stopped doing things, crime got worse. Under Ron Sims, crime went down. Under Gary Lott, crime went down because I was their advisor. We can do this, but you got all the cultures coming here and they don't think the same way.
Thank you. Well, the problem isn't going to be solved by more cops. I am not for defunding the police either. Working people need someone to call. Everyone needs someone to call if you're mugged or assaulted or whatnot, right? Having said that, this is an institution that serves and protects the rich and their property. The laws that have been passed easing drug use and lifting the limit for theft has only increased more overdoses, more theft, and things like that. In the civil rights movement, period, crime went down. Now there's like studies coming out validating this. But young people had something, this is a proletarian-led movement, and young people had something to look towards joining. And that's what Malcolm X talked about, self-defense. He talked about self-worth. In recent years, thanks to the protests by the families who are victims of police brutality, some police have finally been charged. Just since the issue of guns brought up, my time's about up, I will say I also defend the Second Amendment. Thank you. Where are we at now? We're back to the beginning?
Go this way, Scott.
We're always missing you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, let's stand up here and take responsibility. We need to reform our criminal justice system, and frankly, we need to reform how we fund it. Now, there's an important step that the legislature took in, tools that they gave the county council that I understand you are going to take up that will help close the revenue gap and that. But what we've got to make sure is that money is actually spent on true needs in the law enforcement community. And it's not just cops on the streets. It's more public defenders. It's more mental health people. It's more judges. It's more corrections officers. It's making sure that we have an operating juvenile detention center because we have sadly dangerous juveniles on our street. We need to run the booking center down in the Kent RJC on real hours, not business or bankers hours of 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays only. Who the hell commits crime by a calendar like that? Good God, man. We got to get real. And part of it is also we got to give people alternatives. Those that we find on our streets, and as Germán mentioned, so many of the frequent visitors are folks that have drug and substance issues. But it doesn't get cured by giving them more drugs or giving them Narcan. We've got to help them break the cycle. We've got to help them get the treatment that they need to get clean and to reemerge into society. If we truly want to be a fair, just, and compassionate society, we've got to look at how we make our criminal justice system more fair and more honest.
Yes, it is you. Yes.
Thank you, candidates. We will now turn to the audience-formed questions. There were 16 submitted in total today. We have only accepted questions from the audience attending in person today, but we appreciate everyone's attendance online. We will ask as many questions as we can in accordance with time constraints. So the first question out of our audience-based ones, it's a little bit of a fun one, is what is your favorite ice cream and favorite part of the King County Executive Office?
Oh, no. I have to confess, all right, if I'm being honest, my favorite ice cream is fish food. I just love that stuff. It's the best. The more stuff in it, the better. Also, Ben & Jerry's, right? They're like anti-Trump. So, and my favorite part of the King County Executive's office, wow, well, I used to work in the King County Executive's office, so there's this one cubicle just outside the break room that's mine. Like, you probably know which part of the work that they do. The King County Executive gets to have a policy section, which means they get to hire a handful of people that work on policy and policy change. And those are the people that you hire because they will drive change throughout the organization and into the community, and I cannot wait to work with those people.
My favorite ice cream is rainbow sherbet. Love that. And I really only eat it during certain seasons. And my favorite office, I think Sound Transit. It definitely intrigues me the most. I feel like it has the most work that can be done as far as what we can get out of it and kind of like move around to other areas to like see that come up. So I think if we pour into that, or if we kind of prioritize that in a different way, we'll see a lot of areas, benefit from that. So looking forward to that.
One thing that the former county executive had was a nice selection of wine. I don't know I know about it, but he had a nice wine area in there, and I like that because I like wine for communion. So I think the whole thing about it is being able to interact with the county council members over a glass of wine would be nice.
What about ice cream?
Ice cream? You thought I was going to say chocolate, right? Black cherry.
All right, I can't eat ice cream. I would say, about this office, I mentioned that I would use it to help organize and mobilize support for every working class struggle. Anything that helps build the confidence and capacity of working people to rely on ourselves and fight for what we need. We're the vast majority, and all the wealth comes from our labor, as opposed to this dog eat dog, we've got to step on each other type of society. And I wanted to mention supporting the immigrant rights, fight for amnesty. We have local struggle, Alfredo Lelo Juarez, who's detained in Tacoma, local farm worker organizer, and also my union brother worked on the railroad, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador to bring him home, which my union, SMART union, has led on.
That is time. Thank you.
Ice cream.
Dessert.
Dessert. Dessert.
German chocolate cake.
How international?
I like German chocolate cake too. Is gelato allowed?
Yes.
Okay, great. Valenti's coconut gelato, because I'm a little bit nutty. The favorite office that I have in the King County Executive's office doesn't exist yet I want to create an office of public accountability that would hold the executive branch, the council, the judiciary, and all of us accountable for how we operate and how we spend your money and whether we're getting a job done. we used to have a news media that does that. Don't have that really anymore. But what we need is true accountability, and I think that would come by creating an office of public accountability.
Other departments going?
I like ice cream that has stuff in it, so, brownies or cookie pieces, but I'm gonna choose strawberry cheesecake ice cream. Who likes that? Yeah. My favorite office, I would say, is the Department of Local Services, because in unincorporated areas, King County goes from being a regional government to a local government. I have a little bit of unincorporated King County in my district, Skyway, if any of you are familiar. It's probably only about 5% of my district, but I spend so much time there, and I get so many emails from there because we are their local government. And in the places where we have greater jurisdiction, I think we have greater opportunity to do great work. And so we've been on the ground over there, helping people address homelessness, building community centers, providing healthcare resources, fixing sidewalks, things that a local government does, and I'm excited to do more of that in unincorporated areas.
Sorry. What is your greatest asset you believe you will bring to King County?
My greatest, I think
There you
it's-
go.
is it on?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on, I think, yeah. My greatest asset is the fact that I'm not a politician. I know many of you are like, what? How is that an asset? But it's an asset because we need a community leader, someone who sees the blind spots. We have great, amazing leaders up here, done some amazing things, right? But there's obviously some gaps. And I think since I've been in the county, just as a regular person, walking around, just checking things out, I've gotten a whiff of a lot of those gaps. So I think my greatest asset is just being my authentic self. I'm not tied to any party. I've taken no money from any party. I'm completely independent and self-funded. So all of my ideas are strictly what the community wants and our voices. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm self-funded too. I've done it a lot of times. I think the main thing that I like most is helping us to know that when you know your greatness, you know your history, you know your greatness. Washington State used to be black, white, Asian, and now it's diverse. And what has happened to my people in being left out of almost everything, including the opportunity for contracting. Because if it had been done all the way on the floating bridge, the tunnel, the light rail like it should have been done, we wouldn't have a lot of the crime problems we got now.
I think my greatest asset is just being a worker and a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, some 150 years communist continuity, to draw on the class struggle, complete confidence in the working class to figure out all these social problems. We need the state power we run up against the wall again and again. And I saw by visiting Cuba many times, the mass organizations, the workers, organized in neighborhood committees, young people, the women, students, unions, all that, the small farmers, uncompromising in defense of our class interests and that of our allies, including small business people, farmers, farm workers, etc., and defending any attacks on our constitutional freedoms, which we need so desperately.
Thank you.
When I ran for assessor in 2015, I never run for office before. I ran against an incumbent. I beat him in 17 of 17 legislative districts. And in part, I pulled off the editorial hat trick of winning the endorsement of both the Seattle Times and the Stranger. And the Stranger noted Wilson said he'd be an activist assessor. Well, by God, I have been. I've gone down to Olympian twice reforming the senior exemption program, so there are now another 25,000 people enrolled in that program that are literally having the ability to stay in their house safe. We went in, we changed racist hiring policies we had and eliminated them so that we have a workforce and a management team that now reflects our community and our community I made the assistant office one of the best performing offices in all of county government so that we consistently rank within the top 2 or 3 county agencies in employee engagement survey. That's the kind of leadership and performance I'll bring as county executive.
I would say my greatest strength is bringing people together to solve problems. There is no one individual, there is no one level of government that is going to solve the problems that we're facing right now. The problems are way, way, way too big. We have to collaborate with each other. We have to collaborate across levels of government. We have to collaborate across the private sector and the nonprofit sector too. And the next King County executive is not just going to, their success is not just going to be measured based on how much they know or what their individual talent is. It's going to be, can you bring diverse coalitions of people together across sectors to solve the massive challenges that we're facing? I brought people together to transform our mental health system, to invest in underserved communities, to raise the minimum wage, to do so much, and that took collaboration. And that's exactly what I would do. I think this is ability to collaborate and inspire people to come together is why our campaign is the most endorsed by elected officials, by unions, by tribes, by legislative democratic districts. We're #1 across the board because of that simple reason of being able to bring people together.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this one, I'm going to agree with my colleague. I think the most important attribute that I would bring to this job is partnerships that I have built up over a long career and the experience of building those partnerships and the ability to continue to expand them. And I'll give you an example. We have 39 cities in King County. I have brought all 39 of them together with the county to work on affordable housing, and we have made tremendous progress, as I said before, expanding our planning to include affordability, which we never did before. That is now opening up the possibility of hundreds of thousands of homes throughout King County in the future so that people will afford to live here. I've pulled together for-profit, non-profit, government partners to build affordable housing right near light rail. We're going to do a whole bunch more of that. I've worked with community-based organizations like our Indian American community and helped to work through them with the community that they serve in partnership with government. We can do a whole lot more of that, and that's how we succeed. Thank you.
Mr. Rivers, it'll be you next.
Yes. All right, the next question is, do you advocate for any change to the property tax given it makes up more than 1/3 of the general fund revenue?
I think in looking at property taxes, they have hurt a lot of seniors, a lot of people that own property. I would definitely love to look at it and see exactly where we can make changes. I think there's a 1% clause that I looked at that talks about an increase. And I think we are taxing ourselves out of Seattle. It's just too much. We have, every city, every county should have, in the state, 2 piggy banks. We have 1. We don't have minority participation in businesses, so we don't bring enough revenue in. We have broke the legs on the pig and it's on his belly, and we call that emergency funds. And then you turn around and you go extra session with $24 billion in debt. We're not doing it right. We're not making ourselves viable. If everyone's not included in bringing in revenue.
Time, thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, we can repeat the question. Sorry, Oscar.
It was.
Sorry, we misplaced our note cards. We have a lot of awesome questions up here.
Oh, there it is.
Amazing. Do you advocate for any change to the property tax given it makes up more than 1/3 of the general fund revenue?
Yeah, contrary to what is put forward by a variety of socialists, communists are opposed to any taxation on working people. We are not gonna tax our way to power, and that it's some sort of just transfer of wealth and voila, this is some kind of socialism. It really comes down to a question of class relations, class forces, and who is doing the taxing. The problem with the progressive taxes is it doesn't touch these class relations. They get us into this mindset that there's this limited piece of the pie, but we're the ones that create all the wealth. All the services that we get is just getting back a portion, a pittance of the wealth that we produce.
My issue. I'll tell you what we should do with property taxes. We're gonna need them, but we ought to reform them significantly. Right now, we'll collect $7.7 billion in property taxes. 72% of that is coming from residential homeowners. We need to rebalance that, and part of how we would rebalance it, and we proposed this in Olympia last year, it made it through Senate Ways and Means, but died in rules, is to make a more progressive property tax by finally giving Washington State what many states call a homestead or a homeowner's exemption. That would help 500,000 homeowners in King County save on their taxes. We should also provide a renter tax credit to make it more affordable for renters to afford to have a roof over their head. And we need also property tax reform that affects small businesses to make them more efficient and allow them to keep more of their dollars so they can hire more people.
Washington State has one of the most inequitable tax codes in the country. We used to be literally 50th worst in the whole country. We recently moved up to 49, yay, with the passage of the capital gains tax. But if you think Washington State is bad, King County is even worse because of two things. Number one, we fund our government almost exclusively through property taxes, sales taxes, and fees, very regressive forms of revenue generation. And like Mr. Rivers mentioned, we have that 1% cap on our ability to increase revenue year over year. Well, when the cost of doing business is going up by much more than 1% each year, you create this thing that we call the structural gap, which is over time, we're not going to be able to do much to provide you the critical services that you depend on. So I would absolutely advocate for two things. Number one, advocate to Olympia to give us more revenue tools, especially progressive options. And number two, finally remove that 1% cap that is absolutely killing our government and making sure that we're going to have
Fine, thank you.
people rely on.
Yeah, real talk. The reason why King County uses almost entirely property tax and sales tax, that is the only kind of taxation that we are allowed to levy by law. So if you live in Seattle and there's more business taxes, there's the B&O tax, there's the Jumpstart tax, King County has no ability by law to levy those kinds of taxes. So I completely agree with my colleague. We need the state to give us more tools. We need them to allow us to do things that are less regressive so that we're not so reliant on the property tax and the sales tax, which are the most regressive kinds of taxes. King County, for a number of years now, our number one legislative priority has been to ask Olympia to allow us to increase property taxes by more because our revenue is not keeping up with our costs. We're facing dozens, if not hundreds, of layoffs if we don't have the ability to keep up with inflation. Neither of these are good things. Raising these taxes, not good. Layoffs, not good. We need help. And so please join us. Thank you.
So I do not, unfortunately, stand by supporting a property tax, and that's because people work so hard to get what they have, whether you're like a small business owner or a homeowner. It's already a hassle, so it's just like increasing that, and we're already not making our monthly revenue, we're already struggling. I don't agree with that, right? So I'm definitely looking more into the progressive tax actions, and mainly not even a wealth tax, because I know that's been on the table, but I heard them talk about partnerships, and something I want to highlight is we have some of the best corporations here. Why not just ask them to throw in money to close the gap? I mean, it might not work, right, but I've worked at these companies, they do amazing work. Like Microsoft has done so much philanthropic work in the community, it's crazy, right? So why automatically go to us, right? Like let's go to another avenue.
New question. All right. Last question. Yes. How will you defend King County from federal cuts and anti-democratic federal government?
The most important thing as county executive is new revenue. The most unforeseeable thing is knowing how we're going to lose first thing we have to accomplish is an opportunity to make sure that every citizen well-being opportunity to work is working, bringing in revenue, and new streams of revenue is what this county needs to present and put forth. Because if we keep going on the same way, taxation without representation, we're running people away.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I easily messed up.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes.
Maybe.
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 Sorry.
Perhaps.
There we go.
There it is. This one?
Yep.
All right. How will you defend King County from federal cuts and an anti-democratic federal government?
Well, one of the things the labor movement, our unions, should fight for is a shorter work week with no cut in pay to help spread the available work around, help prevent layoffs. You know, millions of working people are getting drawn in to politics today and are looking for solutions. And part of that is due to these cuts, the massive cuts. And, you know, building up the working class leadership that we need. For example, today in Seattle, workers at Mauser have been locked out. They've been fighting, I think it's about a month now, organized by Teamsters Local 117, urging support for struggles like the air traffic controllers that, you know, have been calling the attention in New Jersey and other places, nurses, the flight attendants, supporting these struggles, developing that working class leadership that we need.
Time. Thank you.
There are a couple of things. I mean, clearly, we've got to get real and realize that any reliance we have on federal dollars is questionable. You probably get better odds in Las Vegas these days. So we've got to be very honest with ourselves. Where are we vulnerable? How can we protect that vulnerability on our own? Obviously, the other thing too is if need be, you go to court. And you know, the county, when in the earlier edition of the Trump administration, I tried to get Dow to engage going to court on keeping the citizenship question out of the census because of the discriminatory practice it would have on our state. We failed to do that, and I thank God Bob went to court on it, and it kept out. But we're going to have that come at us again, and that's something that we should consider that we go to court on.
We're absolutely living in terrifying times right now. Our undocumented neighbors are having their families torn apart. Our trans neighbors are losing access to their critical health care. Our seniors might lose access to their Medicaid benefits. These are truly emergency times. And the next King County executive is going to have a huge role in shielding this region from these terrible policies of the Trump administration. Number one, our local government needs to uphold a state law called Keep Washington Working, which says that local governments do not have to use their local resources to assist or facilitate unjust federal government actions, so we can train our sheriff's department and our jails not to go after undocumented people who are being chased by ICE. We absolutely need to use every tool in our legal toolkit to sue the federal government. That means, you know, our King County executive recently joined a coalition of counties around the region to sue the federal government over these federal funding freezes, and they were successful in getting a temporary restraining order.
Time.
We also
Thank
need
you.
to support our Attorney General.
Thank you, guys.
Time goes fast.
I heard a head of a university recently say autocracy is voracious. If you feed it once, it's going to want to eat and eat and eat. And so our approach has to be to not feed the autocrats, right? So when the federal government says we're going to take your grants away that you've already been granted by Congress unless you sign this loyalty oath, that you don't have gender ideology, that you oppose immigration, we don't sign it, we go to court, and that's what we've done, as my colleague is saying. I've been proud to vote at King County and at Sound Transit and at the King County Regional Homelessness Authority to fight back against this tactic. When they pass a budget that says they're going to take away the benefits from so many people who need them, we think about whether we can reprioritize our own money, whether we can find new resources, whether we can use our rainy day fund. We have to help and protect and defend our people. and we don't do their job for them. That's absolutely right. We are not ICE, we will not be ICE, and we don't have to support ICE. We protect our people.
So I'm pretty sure we all know the hierarchical structure of how decisions are made in this nation, and unfortunately, you know, there are a lot of things we can do at a local level. We can vote the right people in, right? We can support, we can join, you know, lawsuits, but ultimately under my leadership, we would just be in prepare mode. And what does that look like? That looks like working with the corporations that we have that are making so much money here and trying to get them to put in so that we will be all right here where we are. I can speak for the nation and how they will operate, but for my leadership, it would just be us preparing for the worst and hoping the best. So alongside fighting, alongside voting, alongside using our voice, how can we come together as a community and benefit off each other? That means purchasing more small business, doing more things in the community to support each other, cleaning up the housing issue, because obviously if we don't clean that up, that 23% will go to 89% by 2029. Thank you.
Sorry, we lost track of people. Have you answered the question yet?
I think you're the wrap up for the, how would you defend King County from federal cuts and anti-democratic federal government?
Oh, okay,
cool,
perfect.
Cool. Sorry, it's late. It's late. I know.
All right, so that is a wrap on our questions for tonight. On behalf of the Young Democrats of King County and the Young Democrats of Washington, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And before we go, can we please give a huge round of applause to all of our candidates up here today. Before we close out, if there's any Democrat out here under the age of 35, we would love to have you to come join our membership, come talk to me, Austin, or any of our amazing board members. And I don't know the schedules of our amazing candidates here, but if you want to talk to them and they have some free time, feel free to do so. Sorry, do we have a question?
I'm 70. Can I join twice?
You can be an alumni member. We do have alumni membership available for anyone above the age of 35. And massive thank you to anyone who is able to donate to our organization today. QR codes are listed up everywhere, and please fill out our legislative advocacy form. Our legislative director would really appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and thank you for supporting connecting young people to democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that was so great. That was so great. Thank you for coming.